Hello everyone. Today I wanted to share with you a small reflection I had while reading an old article by the late Islamic thinker Ali Shariati. He started the article by mentioning that he comes from a simple family that does not have the blood of nobility, the kind of nobility he associated with power and wealth. He mentioned that his family were commoners who lived in a poor region, and he considered that these people are the ones who fought the toughest battles in history and who endured poverty and hardships in order to build the glory of civilizations. He then talked about a visit he had to Egypt. He mentioned this anecdote where he visited the pyramids. The tour guide was showing them this great and huge pyramid, but next to it, Ali noticed that there was a bunch of stacked stones. He asked the tour guide about them, and the guide told him that they were graves of the slaves who died while building the pyramids. What the tour guide said triggered something in Shariati, so he went and sat down next to the stones and started reflecting. He said that he felt a strange connection with these slaves. Well, of course, at his time the narrative was that they were slaves, but now we know that they were paid laborers. But anyway, he felt a deep connection with the laborers and believed that they had a lot in common with his ancestors. These pyramids were built on the shoulders of these people, but they barely got any of the credit. In fact, the pharaoh who ordered the construction of the pyramids was the one who took most of, if not all, of the credit, while the laborers were barely mentioned. This idea of Shariati is very interesting because it is applicable to every civilization. For example, when we visit countries around the world and we see these outstanding monuments, we are always amazed by how big and beautiful they are. And we rightly should be, because they show the greatness of human craftsmanship. But we usually associate them with dynasties or rulers who ordered their construction, and we never get the full picture. We don't have the perspective of the common man. For example, how many families were financially broken because they had to pay higher taxes so that the ruler could afford building these monuments? How many children went to sleep starving because their parents could not afford food due to these taxes? Or how many cities were raided and pillaged? And how many innocent people were killed in order to build the wealth that was used to construct these monuments? And of course, it does not stop here. What about the workers who built them? How many of them died during construction? When you look at a high castle or temple, for example, do you ask yourself how many workers fell from the top and died? How many of them broke their bones or ribs, or had permanent disabilities, or ended up with damaged backs after years of carrying heavy materials? Why does nobody talk about them? The answer is simple. The laborers did not write their stories. Back then, most of them did not know how to read or write. And even if they did not have access to the means needed to record their stories. And as a result, their memory went into oblivion. Only the narrative of the ruling class survived because they had the means to record their perspective. And that's why we only have one side of the story. But imagine if these workers had documented their lives. Our understanding of history might have been completely different. And in fact, we don't need to go thousands of years back to see how important it is to have such records. Imagine if most of our grandparents wrote about their daily lives and mentioned how easy or difficult things were under different leaders. We would probably have now a much better understanding of what they lived through. And it would, in turn, help us to understand the causes of our current financial situation, both within our families and in our countries. And this would have also helped us make better life decisions and judgments. Shariati's article made me think about how today we have the means to record our stories. And the good thing is that you don't even need to know how to write to do that. You can buy a phone or a voice recorder and start recording yourself. You can record a video, audio, write, or paint, or even create a comic book if you wanted to. We have an unprecedented access to documentation tools. So why are we not taking advantage of that? I want you to remember that centuries from now, after we die, our history will be examined and talked about. And usually when history is studied, the focus is mainly on the big events of that period. Historians often talk about the ruling class and the leaders of the time, especially during major events, and they mostly mention the leaders' biggest achievements or failures on an international scale usually. Historians rarely discuss the domestic policies in detail, for example the financial, educational, agricultural or infrastructure programs. And when they do, they rely mostly on official government sources and statistics. If only the records of the ruling class survive, the next generation will have a distorted idea of our time period. It is possible that some leaders who governed poorly will be falsely praised for a single good thing they did, and a false picture will be painted as if everyone loved them and lived happily under their leadership. But reality is different. The only people who can reliably judge policies are the common people, because their lives are directly affected by them. It is the common man who either suffers or thrives under these policies. The ruling class usually remains unaffected by them. So I need you, me included, everyone, to write our stories and how we are living during these times. I think we owe it to the next generation to tell them our story, to show them what we went through. And I don't want you to write this from a political point of view. I want you to write it from a working class perspective, from the perspective of the common man. On your notebook or video, mark the day, month, and year, and then say what you lived through during that day. Give your opinion, your evaluation of the policies of the leaders of your time. Mention that they, for example, promised that groceries would drop in price, but they did not. Mention that maybe the prices are skyrocketing. Mention that they promised to provide more jobs, but you ended up being fired and struggled to find a new job. Talk about how easy or hard it was for your children to find jobs and buy houses. Talk about how corporations control everything, or how dilapidated or robust the infrastructure is. And of course, be as fair and objective as possible. If the leader kept their promise or did something good, you should mention it. Talk about the happy moments you had during your life as well. That's as equally as important, because it gives the next generation a bit of comfort and a glimmer of hope. Just start recording your story. There is nothing to lose. You don't have to publicly share what you recorded. Whatever it is, a video, audio, or notebook, keep it for yourself and for your family. Pass it down to your children and grandchildren. It will be useful for them. We really need to think about the next generation, about our grandchildren. Our journals will provide them with much needed guidance in their lives and will help shape their worldview. That's why I want you to write your story. Don't let it die with you. It matters. Your pain, your sweat, your blood, your tears. Don't let them go in vain. You are worth it. And your story is worth it. So just write it down and keep it for future generations. They will be grateful for it. So that was it for this video. I just wanted to share this small reflection with you. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please drop a like and subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.